Alright, today we're going to be looking at our first update on both Tropical Storm Delta and what is now Tropical Depression Gamma. Let's get into it. So first off, at the latest news, this is as of the 5 p.m. advisory Eastern Daylight Time. Really, we have a rapidly intensifying Tropical Storm Delta here, now with winds of 70 miles per hour. We also have, on the other hand, a rapidly weakening system. Gamma now has weakened to a tropical depression, as you can notice. And it really did kind of rapidly intensify on its way, making a landfall with winds of 70 miles per hour, and is now rapidly weakening as it is likely to kind of meander here. It has really been meandering here. It went like this, went back down here, went back here. So it's really not moving much. And as you can see here, NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft finds Delta rapidly strengthening. Hurricane warnings issued for the northeastern portion of the Yucatan Peninsula. So once again, the northeastern portion are under hurricane warnings. They already saw those hurricane warnings for Gamma, and now they're seeing those for Delta. So 983 millibars, 70 miles per hour, and moving west at 8 miles per hour. On the other hand, Gamma becomes a tropical depression, southwest at 5,005 millibars, and then 35 miles per hour. So first off, let's just quickly look at Gamma. We're really not going to look at Gamma much, but you can see that it is really this morning, and even since yesterday, it has been extremely sheared with that low pressure center being around here, right? This is where that low pressure center here, and then the convection being all the way up here. So you can see how much shear is pushing those clouds and convection. You can see how much it's pushing it to the northeast. So really, it's being sheared. It's in like 50 knots of shear, but still, we're still seeing some tropical sort of force winds in this area. At least we were. But when Recon went in there, it was like, yeah, it's only 35 miles per hour. They went in like this. They really didn't find much wind. But now, the thing that's interesting is as we got into later of the day, this convection really, it wasn't even part of the system at that point. It wasn't even connected to it. But then we are starting now to get some new convection as it has actually continued to drift southwards, almost close to making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula again. And as you can see, we now have convection covering the center, which means we now have a newly covered center, which has disconnected mostly from that convection that has now detached from the system. But we now have a covered center. So what still needs to be seen is whether it is able to continue to blow up and keep it on the center. If so, we may see this become a tropical storm. And currently, the low pressure is very close to making landfall and is likely to continue to meander in this general location before potentially heading back north if it doesn't dissipate. So we're going to have to see what will happen with that one. All right, so now looking at something a little bit more important right now, tropical depression, Hurricane Delta. We're going to go to the latest frames here. We'll put 20 frames just to kind of get the latest on this. And as we look at this, we have a strengthening system, of course, but we have a couple little things to notice if we pause it to that last frame. So first of all, we actually have somewhat of an eye wall forming here, and you can see maybe an indication of an eye, but it really doesn't look the best on the IR. We just have some really scattered, weak convection with some strong convection around the center, so really not the greatest. But if we look at it on satellite, it does look a lot better, and you can see once again that low pressure center being right here with some nice banding to the south and some nice banding to the north here. So really an organized system. We're definitely getting some heavy rainfall and winds to Jamaica, as well as maybe some rainfall and winds here to Central America. But this is generally moving westward, maybe a little bit of a shift north, but in the last couple of days it actually dips southward. So it will likely continue to move generally west-northwestward. All right, so we still have some blow-ups and honestly just looking really good. All right, so now looking at the actual cone, and this has changed dramatically. Okay, so let's recap. Yesterday, storm was right here. Yesterday, center is expected to pass right here. Already the cone shifted, but that's not it. Yesterday, it was expected to become a hurricane after passing Cuba. Now it's expected to hit the Cuba area as a major hurricane, so you can already see the shift. So first off, let's look at what we have going on. Likely to become a hurricane by tonight at the 8 p.m. update. It will likely be a hurricane, at least at the 11 p.m. But now National Hurricane Center is predicting it to become a major hurricane and actually, believe it or not, making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula. So we went from a possible Cuba landfall to now Yucatan Peninsula landfall, but they still have those hurricane warnings in place. Either way, though, it is expected to become a Category 3 hurricane and then weaken to Category 2 before landfall, thankfully. But we've also seen the shift of a westward shift, and they're saying it is becoming more uncertain where it will make landfall. So really, we're looking anywhere from Texas to Florida Panhandle. But we've seen a shift in the model a bit from here to here to here, and the likeliness of that continuing to shift westward is not impossible, as it also interacts with now tropical depression gamma. So now again, looking at the spaghetti models, you can already see that yesterday we were having all the spaghetti models concentrated like right here, and now they've kind of a little bit more dispersed. But either way, they're predicting it to be right here in 24 hours, likely a Category 2 at that point, and then in 48 hours, it's likely a Category 3, clipping if not making landfall on the Yucatan Peninsula, and then it's kind of taking that curve and then moving back up towards the Louisiana area. Now, still, all the models have it making landfall in this general square right here, which is eastern Louisiana. So still, it's not like we're having models all the way in this entire area. We're not seeing this. We're seeing it still concentrated in the Louisiana area. So I'm going to be getting on the reason for why it could weaken before landfall. I'm going to be showing you guys right after. So again, here's the intensity guidance this time. And we're already seeing a similar thing. So expect it to be a hurricane pretty much the next 24 hours. I'm going to say in less than 12 hours because it's already at 70 miles per hour. It hasn't registered, but it's right here already. So it'll likely be a hurricane very soon. And then most models show it being a Category 3 now again in about 48 to 60 hours. So 48 is right here. So about right. And actually, again, shows it weakening back down to Category 2 at around hour 84. So that's right here. And as you can see, it does show it weakening. And then by hour 96, being a tropical storm. And by hour 96, as you can see, it's making landfall as a tropical storm or a Category 2 hurricane, and obviously weakening. So it does show it peaking in 48 to 60 hours and then slowly weakening up to the landfall point. Alright, so now looking at the chances for actual tropical storm conditions. And though rising, Yucatan Peninsula now has a 90%. Cuba has went from a 80%, and then Louisiana is now up to a 70%, 60 to 70%. So those are again continuing to rise, and even all the way into the Alabama border where they already have a 30 to 40%. So still that possibility even into the Texas border. But again, from there you can see the pretty much the track it's expected, and Louisiana landfall still very likely for the time being at least. Alright, so now looking at that shear, which will come into why this is likely to weaken. First of all, let's look at where it's currently right here. So it is in 5 knots of shear, very good conditions for this tropical cyclone. And it's not really having any trouble, as you can see. It is in 5 knots of shear, so it's doing very well, as you would imagine, doing just fantastic. But as it moves on, it will likely stay in very good conditions up to the Yucatan Peninsula. Now the shear will start to weaken, but as it gets near central to northern Gulf of Mexico, we're still going to be getting some pretty strong shear if it doesn't go away quite yet, and that could be one of the major impacts. Now, really, the main reason for it to weaken is shear and also the possibility, or not the possibility, sea surface temperatures are fairly cold. Well, not cold, but colder than normal because of both Laura, Sally, and multiple storms that have come through the north, and especially Sally, have significantly weakened this general area right here. They have significantly not weakened it, but made it cooler, which will also cause this not to significantly intensify as it has been in those very warm sea surface temperatures. All right, so really quickly here, we're going to be looking at the latest recon that went in the storm. We have a second one, but here's that latest recon. And as you can see, it has been finding 65 to 70 miles per hour in those eye wall. It found 70 miles per hour in this eye wall right here, 70 miles per hour, and then it found 65 to 70 in this eye wall. And then right here found, I believe, 50, and then here found 50 as well. So definitely the eastern northern eye wall is a lot stronger than the western southern eye wall. Or actually, my bad. Yeah, the east, pretty much the eastern eye wall is a lot stronger than the western eye wall, if that makes sense. Not a lot, but it is stronger. So western eye wall is weaker. Other than that, the pressure has been holding steady at 984. We've seen a quick drop, but now we're not seeing this drop that significantly. The wind, tropical storm wind field wise, as you can see, if we take the tropical storm force winds, this is the wind field, taking that into account. And again, as you can see right here, we have tropical storm winds not extending really far out on the western side, but on the eastern sides, those do extend a lot farther out. And so again, we're almost seeing it do this like we see with some of those storm here. Not quite, but almost doing that thing where we're only pretty much having winds on the east or northern side. So really showing how much stronger. But again, you can see that strong convection wrapping around as well as that center in the middle. Now, if we look at the actual again here, you can see pretty clearly that 670 miles per hour and then 60 miles per hour on the second eye wall, and then the pressure going down in the 980s, sub 980s. So really very similar situation there. Okay, so really lastly, we're going to be looking at the ocean analysis, which I've been talking about. By the way, the La Nina is getting lower. It has risen up slightly, but nothing too major. And if we look at this, if we go to uh, Western Atlantic, you can see how cold they are right at that landfall point, down to 26, 25. So really, really, really cold. Well, not that cold, but this entire area has 24 to 25. And that's not what we used to see. And again, the storm is currently 30 to 30 warm waters. So we've went from the Gulf being the hottest spot in the Atlantic to really the western northern Gulf here, which we could really see. This is really the new hotspot sorry, of the Atlantic right now. And as the storm moves through here and arrives near the northern Gulf coast, it's going to be encountering 25, 24, not more than 27, which is going to be inhibiting further development, which is why we're not really expecting a major hurricane landfall. As it moves closer here, it's really going to have trouble firing those thunderstorms as much, and as it gets right before that landfall point in 24 degrees, it's really, really going to have trouble doing that. Because as we know, a tropical cyclone needs 27 or 26 for a tropical storm. So you would imagine that a hurricane maintaining itself in 24 degrees is a little bit hard, but it's still going to be having 27 right before that landfall point as it moves in. But again, just showing a little bit that this will definitely be encountering, but it is going to be staying in 30 to 31 waters all the way up that Yucatan approach or landfall, which is why it could intensify to that major hurricane status. All right, as always, don't forget to subscribe for more updates.